my name is Laura and welcome to my channel Boundless Books. So today I'm going to go through my favorite fantasy books, historical fantasy edition. So unlike high fantasy novels, which take place in an entirely fictitious world that is completely different from our own, historical fantasy novels are based in our mundane world with elements of magic thrown in for good measure. Recently, I've been really into books that take place in London in the 1800s. I don't really know why, but I've been on a kick. So this is kind of a collection of books that are all centered around that theme. Fun fact, this is actually the second time that I have filmed this video. I actually recorded the whole entire thing this past weekend, and when I went to play it back to start editing, I realized that there was no audio. So... But on the plus side, because I had to wait to film this video, I now have new lighting, so yay, I hope you guys enjoy the new setup. The first book that I want to talk about is The Dark Days Club by Allison Goodman. And I read this recently, and this is actually what inspired me to create this list, because I bought the book on kind of a lark on Amazon and ended up enjoying it way more than I thought I would. The Dark Days Club is set in 1812 and follows a young woman named Lady Helen Rexhall. And in this novel, she discovers that her life might be more than parties and a good marriage. For most of Lady Helen's life, she has been trying to escape the scandalous past of her mother, who was accused of being both a traitor and a spy. However, when the mysterious and dangerous Lord Carlston appears at court, Lady Helen Rexhall's life is kind of disrupted a bit, as she discovers that society, all levels of society, has been infiltrated by demons. As I mentioned, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this novel. I thought Allison Goodman did a really good job of making Helen somebody who is not anachronistic to her time, but still enjoyable to a modern reader reading it. She's spunky, however, she is still has to conform by society's rules. She needs a chaperone when she's meeting with a man. So if I had to liken this book to anything, I would say it's like a little bit like Pride and Prejudice meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's parties and society politics, and then on the other spectrum, there is slaying demons, which is pretty badass. So overall, I would give this book a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it and how quickly I read through it. Unfortunately, this is a series and only the first book is out. Sad, and it just came out. So that means there's going to be at least a year of waiting until the next book comes out. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't pick this up. You should definitely pick it up and read it because it is just too enjoyable not to. The next book that I'd like to talk about is Illusion by Paula Volsky. And I would like to warn you that unfortunately this book is out of print, which is tragic if you ask me, because I think this is one of Paula Volsky's best books. However, that being said, you can in fact buy this used on Amazon, which is what I did. I did not in fact steal a library book. This was sold to me like this. The person I bought it from stole it. This is the only book that I'm recommending today that's not based on British history, but that's because it's based on the French Revolution, which is something that I am also equally obsessed with if you've seen some of my other videos. And before I jump into the description of what this is about, can I point out how lovely the cover of this book is? It has on the back a very cool image of this machine and this creepy old dude, but come on, that makes me want to read this even more, and it's kind of the reason that I initially picked this up. But also this very gorgeous image on the cover of this young woman with these gates that kind of look like wings. I thought it was very poetic and lovely. So in this version of a sort of pseudo-France, society is divided by the exalted, who is the noble class, and they actually have the ability to create illusions with magic, and the serfs, who have no magic. They're just normal, mundane people. This story follows a young woman named Elise Vaux d'Aravel. I'm probably butchering that name. I do not speak any French at all. And it follows her journey from a spoiled society girl to a strong-willed young woman remade by the turmoil of the revolution. What makes this novel particularly unique is that not only does it involve magic and these elements of illusion, but it also has a whole steampunk element, where a lot of the machines that are fueling the revolution are these sentient robots, which is what the cover is hinting at. Overall, I thought Paula Volsky did a really good job of having Elise's character grow throughout the course of the book. And it's a very long book, so there's a lot of room for growth. But at the beginning of the novel, Elise is a quite unlikable character, but she grows to be somebody that you really care for and actually root for by the time the novel finishes, which is a pretty amazing turnaround, I thought, for her character. Overall, I would give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I've read it a number of times despite how lengthy it is. But I really enjoy a lot of the descriptions that it goes into of the theory behind why a lot of people were revolting in France. Also the fact that there's just very cool descriptions of steampunk machines and all of the illusion magic. This book pretty much has every kind of element that I could ever possibly want in a novel, so I would definitely recommend going onto Amazon and picking up a used copy of this before they're all gone. Also, publishers, what are you doing? Reprint this book! The next books I want to talk about is the Paper Magician series by Charlie N. Holmberg. This series follows a young magician named Sione Twill, and in Sione Twill's world, magicians are bonded to a specific man-made element, such as metal, glass, or paper. And then once bonded, they are bonded for the rest of their life to that one particular element. At the beginning of the novel, Sione graduates from school and is apprenticed to the eccentric paper magician Emery Thane, thus squashing her dreams of ever becoming a magician who learns how to wield metal. However, when tragedy befalls Magician Thane at the hands of an excisioner, a dark practitioner of flesh magic, Sione must put all of her newfound paper magic into practice in order to save him. Overall, I really enjoyed this series. I thought Sione Twill was an amazing character. She kind of reminds me of Hermione Granger in the fact that she's very intellectual, however it's just set in Victorian London, which honestly is just even better. Another aspect of this novel that I thought was particularly well done were all the descriptions of the paper magic that both Emery Thane and Sione practice. I thought they were just beautiful, and it was a very interesting system of magic. Overall, I would give this series a 4 out of 5 stars, and the awesome part is that it's all out, so you can read all of the books in one sitting, which is kind of what I did. And the only reason why I didn't give this a 5 out of 5 stars is I thought that the first book was a little rushed, and because I love the world and the magic system so much, I wanted the author to spend a little more time introducing the characters. So that's really the only reason I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but overall I thought it was an excellent series and you should definitely go and check it out. The next book I'd like to recommend is the Dark Unwinding by Sharon Cameron. This book is, not surprisingly, also set in the Victorian era and follows a young woman named Catherine Tolman. When word arrives that Catherine's family's inheritance is being squandered away by her lunatic uncle, the family dispatches Catherine to her uncle's estate in order to investigate what's going on. Catherine is hoping to arrive at the estate, quickly declare her uncle incompetent, and then return back to her normal future. Unfortunately, she discovers that her uncle is not so insane. Instead, Catherine discovers that her uncle is an eccentric yet brilliant inventor. She also discovers that there's a bit more happening at Strandway and with her inheritance than initially meets the eye. So I'm not going to go into too much more detail on the plot of this book because it's a bit convoluted and I really don't want to give anything away, but if you do enjoy a mystery with a dash of steampunk, then this is a great novel for you. This book is the start of a series, however the second book is out, which is awesome, and I have actually read that as well and it was very enjoyable. However, I would give this first book in the trilogy a 4 out of 5 stars. It was solid, super enjoyable, and I would definitely recommend it if you like fantasy and steampunk novels. Other notable mentions to this list, which I would like to briefly call out but not go into too much detail describing, are Illusions of Fate by Kiersten White and The Alchemist of Souls by Lyle. Like Illusion by Paula Volsky, Illusions of Fate is also a standalone novel, and it is set in a version of our world where the nobility have the power of magic. And I wanted to call out Alchemist of Souls on this list because it is actually set in Elizabethan England, where these magical creatures called the Skraelings have just arrived in the middle of London. And then the last book that I want to mention very briefly is Soulless by Gail Carriger. I might be butchering that, but right now that is currently what I am reading and I'm really enjoying it. It fits very well into this list because I'm kind of on a kick with historical fantasy books, but it is set in London and supernatural beings have sort of come out into society and live among everyone else. Basically True Blood set in Victorian London. I really hope you guys enjoyed this list. Please let me know if you've read any of these books. Also, if you can recommend any books in this genre, definitely let me know because I am desperate to read more. In my next video, I'm going to be doing a wrap up of all the books that I read during the month of February. I know, it's hard to believe that it's already March. So be sure to subscribe, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. My name is Laura. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. But then there's also slaying demons, which is awesome. Awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. Slaying demons is awesome, you guys. Damn it, I have to say that again.